There are two types of videos trending on my YouTube homepage at the moment, and they're at the opposite ends of the spectrum. One is people doing their end of 2023 monetization on YouTube videos. First year of monetization, look what I made. And a lot of them are very close to what I think I will make in my first year. So they're making like £1,500, a couple of grand, and that's fantastic for really small channels. And then there are others who are, I watched one, and I think she's actually been on YouTube about 4 years and finally got monetized a year ago. And she's earned something like 32,000 Canadian dollars. It's just crazy. And it's interesting that certain categories trigger more views, or at least I thought they did. So anything that's like an evergreen content, so anything that remains of interest, that's trending, anything that's in the news, so anything related to cost of living and budgeting and how to make passive income, how to monetize your YouTube channel, anything to do with cryptocurrency, things like that, and pensions and savings, side hustles, that all is really triggering for YouTube. And I thought, well, that's because people will see those words in the titles, it'll get picked up in the hashtags, keywords, and people will flock to watch them. But someone else also said that advertisers pick up on those words, particularly things like cryptocurrency, where advertisers will pick up on certain words like that which come up in a video, and they will latch their adverts onto that, because if people are watching, they assume, oh, they must be interested in taking out cryptocurrency, in starting passive investing. So they load up the video with those sorts of adverts. And then there are the other videos that are more perennial. So you'll have people talking about how to make a budget, how to survive the cost of living crisis, frugal living, frugal cooking, all that sort of thing. So it's really interesting seeing that side of what's going on in my home feed. And of course that'll also be triggered by what I'm watching. I get that. I totally get that. The other thing that's trending in my home feed, and I don't know why this is because I've never watched any of these videos until 2 days ago, is celebrities, famous people, high-earning YouTubers are, everybody's leaving YouTube. I don't think everybody's leaving YouTube, but I did eventually, after weeks and weeks of seeing these videos coming up on my home feed, have a look at one. And they were kind of saying, you know, people who used to kind of run their YouTubes for fun and then they got big, have got fed up of the amount of work they need to do. So you think that a really high-paying YouTube channel just comes out of nowhere. These people do a lot of work, and they're not doing it all themselves. They've all got teams, they've all got editors, researchers, people dealing with inquiries, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of work. If you have a really high-paying YouTube channel and it's highly polished and it's very trending, and it's all about what's going on in the news or that sort of thing, or it's by a celebrity, it will have a team behind it, and the team needs paying. And apparently a lot of these high-paid YouTube influencers are getting fed up with it now. Something that probably started as a hobby, then turned into something that became a chore, became a job. And if I was earning thousands and thousands of pounds every day from YouTube, I'd probably be happy to treat it as a job. But that's easy for me to say as someone who doesn't. I almost think of YouTube as a passive income, because I've been running my channel for just over a year now. I started it purely as a way to make myself more accountable, as a talking diary, because I wanted somewhere to get things out, and I didn't really have people around me who reflected my lifestyle. So my friends and my family aren't like me. So I thought, I'm just going to start making videos and just putting stuff out there, so at least I get it out into the world. It's out of my head and it's in the world. And I just make videos as and when they come up. I don't have a schedule. I don't look at what's going on in the news and post based on that. I just post about my life, and my life is not that interesting. I work from home, I have multiple side hustles, I'm doing little bits here and there, I do a lot of frugal living, I do budget recipes, I do things based on wartime cooking because rationing meant that people didn't have the ingredients they wanted. So I've learned how to swap ingredients around. So you're getting a recipe and you think, oh, I'd love to do that recipe, but all the ingredients are too expensive. Swap things in and out to make them more affordable. And I just do that over the course of a week. And because I work for myself, because I run side hustles, because I don't have kids, I don't have a partner to worry about, my time is entirely my own. So I enjoy making these videos because it adds another strand to my life. And now that my channel has been monetized, it provides a little bit more incentive for me to make sure that instead of saying, oh, I'm not going to record something today because people will find it boring, this is actually the stuff that people are interested in. People are looking for relatability. Authenticity is a key word. Transparency. People need to know that what's going on out there in the world, it's not just them. That there is a kind of safety in numbers, even if you may be on a different country or a different county. I have a different lifestyle, that we are kind of all in it together, where cost of living crisis and financial concerns are concerned. And I think that that is making small channels like mine, which focus on frugal living, are really useful. I follow all sorts of different channels. I follow people who are making a lot of money being monetized on YouTube. I follow people who have turned side hustles into good paying incomes. I follow people who have lost their homes and their families, are living in their cars. I have a full range of things that interest me that are on that frugality scale, because I like to know what's going on in the world, but I want to see it from a real world perspective. So there's all sorts of things that I follow. I follow so many channels, it's ridiculous. I really need to have a clear out. I think when I last looked, I followed about 80 channels, although a lot of them aren't posting at the moment. Some of them only post once a week, once a month. Some post a lot, but I'll cherry pick which videos I want to watch. And I kind of use YouTube in the way that most people watch TV. So I'll tend to watch YouTube videos instead of TV. And very often I'll have one on in the background when I'm doing something else, because very often I'm using them almost like podcasts rather than visuals, because a lot of the time you can just hear what they're saying and you don't need to sit and physically stare at the screen, because very often I might be sitting there doing my finances, I might be doing some sewing, I might be doing some housework, but if it's on in the background and I can hear it, that's how I manage to get through so many channels on a regular basis. And it really opens your mind. I mean, the stuff that I found out about what goes on in the world, you know, you look at your own news channels, you might, you know, follow your local news or your national news and think, oh my God, look at what's going on in the world. And then you go on somewhere like YouTube and you find out so much more about what's going on in the world. You know, people say, oh, I'd rather live in America, it's so much better out there, until you watch channels about what it's like living in America, and then you don't want to live in America. And what's going on behind the scenes in places like China, and there's even a channel I follow where it's a chap who lives with his family and he's in Moscow. I think he's in Moscow or near Moscow. He's in Russia anyway. And he just does videos about his day-to-day life living in Russia. And living in Russia, from where he is coming from, is like living anywhere else. There's no warfare where he is. I'm not following any channels from Ukraine. I did for a bit, and it was very much like living anywhere else. You know, people were going about their day-to-day business. I don't think the whole of Ukraine has been flattened by Russia's attacks, because there are people still living relatively normal lives in some respect out there. But you can go out there and find that stuff. If you want to find channels in Ukraine and find out what life is really like in Ukraine, you can find it. Everybody's on YouTube. It's so accessible, and it's just people pointing with their phone, their smartphones, and shooting and uploading it. And I love that. That is what I love about YouTube. I don't want polished, highly polished videos. There are a few channels I follow that do that, and I don't mind the odd one if they're doing it in an honest way. And there are channels that I follow, like Austin Williams, Caleb Hammer. I like those, but I also follow lots of pretty gritty, on the street stuff, you know, following people living on the streets in Skid Row in LA and things like that. And it's just so interesting seeing how the other half lives. And I don't just do it to make myself feel better about my life. I would say over the last 2 years my life has improved a lot. Not because I went out and got a job, because I didn't, but because I've worked on my side hustles really hard. They're increasing in income, something that I think of as a passive income, which is YouTube, because regardless of the income, I would still be making these videos. But there's a lot of work that goes into this. You know, you might record a 20-minute video. You've got to relook at it, edit it if it needs editing. It needs to be uploaded into, you know, a final piece that YouTube can see. So you might want to add some text here, or an image there, or cut in some footage where you're still talking but it's something else that's playing in the background, where you can see a different visual to illustrate the point. And it's easy for a 20-minute video with some relatively basic editing to take a couple of hours, and then you have to upload it. And because I'm only running on 4Gs here, it can take a couple of hours to upload a video. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. So YouTube isn't paying a wage, not by any stretch of the imagination. But I do still feel that it's a passive income, because I never had any intention of making money out this channel. And I am still posting the same things. I'm not dancing to YouTube's algorithm, or thinking, oh, what can I post that'll make the advertisers want to shovel their videos in front of everybody. So I think 2024 is going to be quite interesting in terms of where things go. I do watch lots of YouTube videos that give me ideas, and not because it's something I wouldn't normally talk about, but because it's like, oh yeah, that is a part of my life, and maybe people would be interested in this, and I never thought about it because it's just my day-to-day life. So it's all quite interesting. And I'm rather fascinated by the statistics, by which videos get monetized and how long it takes, and whether they keep being monetized for a long time, or whether everyone watches it and then it dies. All that sort of thing. Because I like numbers, I like spreadsheets, I have tons of spreadsheets, and if you watch my channel you will know that I am a bit of a spreadsheet obsessive. So everything has a spreadsheet, and YouTube now has its own spreadsheet, and I can do predictions based on what my average first month has been for YouTube, and if I put that in across a year I can get a rough idea of how much I might make. And it's not huge, but as another side hustle alongside all my other side hustles, my income's going to be better than last year. And it's incremental. I'm not going to be going on any cruises anytime soon, but it means that I can put more money into savings. Then I can earn more money from my savings. So it all has a knock-on effect. Small amounts into the same pot build up into one larger amount, and then it's incremental improvements. And I think one of the problems that we have these days is that we want everything now, everything overnight. So you think you're going to get monetized on YouTube and you're going to be a millionaire in 6 months. It doesn't work like that. And the same with passive incomes and side hustles. It all takes time. And if stop focusing on the end goal and focus on what you're doing at that time, will improve the quality of your content. It'll improve the variety of your content, because if you start to get bored by it, if you start to not enjoy it, if it starts to feel like a chore or a job you don't want, and then that's why you get YouTubers leaving YouTube. I'm hoping I can run this channel for years. I hope it'll always be relevant. I think it'll always be relevant, because I think people struggling is always going to be here. Whilst YouTube always has a free service, there will always be people here looking for people to relate to and all that sort of thing. So I'm planning a couple more videos at the moment. I want to do an end of month, but I'm not going to do everything. I want to pick out key points because the first 5 months of my year are very expensive. All my insurances come out, all the things I have to pay for come out, when I always try to pay for things annually rather than monthly. So there's lots of big chunks of money coming out. And of course bills have gone up, so my car insurance is due this month and that's going to go up. Some of my utilities have been revised and they're going up. And so I just want to talk about very specific things that are affecting January, and then we'll be rolling straight into February. Blimey, there's just so much to talk about, which is good, because even my boring little quiet life has interesting elements to it that are helpful to other people. And that's really what this is about. This is about producing just videos that are me, but I'm like most other people, and a lot of what I post can be useful. I know that people are finding things like some of my recipes really useful, some of the ways that I budget really useful, and I'm just going to carry on doing that. So that's a little summary really of how I feel at this particular moment in time. So I hope you enjoy the rest of what's to come in January and stick with me. And if you have any ideas, I mean, sometimes people say, could you make something about this, or I'd like to see more of this, and I'm always happy to do that if it's a relevant thing. Like very often it's people want to know more about budget recipes and things like that, so I'm trying to do more of that, because you know, I might just be doing my lunch as normal and it doesn't mean anything to me because that's how I always do lunch, but to someone who doesn't do lunch that way, suddenly that becomes an idea for how to cut a food budget in half. Who knows? Anyway, so that's my waffle for this little session. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I shall definitely be speaking to you again very, very soon. Bye bye.